One, two, is it on? I told you when I say free, you make it on. Now, let's close the video. We're gonna make another one, another audio. Are you saying this is gonna be the main one? Okay, whatever. We started this 100 times over. Okay, intro number whatever, infinity. Okay. This video is about Nunchuck. It's a response to Shad from Shadiversity and Milani Fitness, if I got the pronunciation right. Each took one extreme side of the argument, and there is some points that both have forgot to mention, and we need to talk about it. So let's go. And don't forget your sub. Why there is too many ends? Lol. Hey, welcome again back to the channel. Gate to Babylon, the gate to everything. Greetings, I am Ali. So let's go. You read the title of the video, and basically this is a response to a big story, sort of speak, lately, and it is a response to Shadiversity and Milani Fitness. Anyway, something fitness starts with M. Anyway, mainly it's for Shad from Shadiversity, and it's about the Nunchucks. So Shad made videos about the Nunchucks, how unuseful they are, and Shad went a little bit extreme, and in my opinion, and said they are useless to some extent. Like, I'm summarizing his main idea, and he went through it, the story of it, and all the stuff that comes to, and everything fantastic about that. Story short, some people got not angry, but like some people didn't like it, and many people made a response to it. For me, I agree with everyone. Like, for real, Shad is not wrong. It's useless. It's not an effective weapon, and the fact that it could potentially hurt the user himself makes it even more an effective weapon, and basically that alone makes it the worst weapon on the planet in comparison to any other weapon. And maybe even the stones, specially designed stones, even more effective than nunchucks. But however, Shad, I think he a little bit went extreme, and all the other people went also extreme to the other side. They saying that it is a good weapon, and Shad is saying it's totally rubbish weapon. And every single video Shad makes, he gets, I don't know if this is just for views, but every single video he makes it, the more and the more later on he makes video, the more he puts trash on emphasis on how trash nunchucks are. But I think both sides are a little bit like they both getting one end of the stuff, and they are just going extreme and crazy about it, and biases or whatever. However, I want to say that Shad is not wrong. I agree with him 100%, and I don't. In general, I just agree with him. It's not a good weapon, all that stuff. However, it's not, in my opinion, it's not as bad as Shad is saying it is bad. Nunchucks are bad, but not that bad. Alright, they're not good, but they're not as bad as Shad's describing nunchucks to be, in my opinion, or what I understood from Shad, and what I think people have understood from watching Shad's videos. And the last video Shad talking about nunchucks is seriously over 1 hour. I didn't like, full honesty, I didn't watch the entire video, but I definitely watched a little bit more than two-third. Anyway, I watched like most of the video. And I don't know how, but I got interested. And I watched like an hour video about the nunchucks and all that stuff. And I generally agree with Shad 100%. It has a lot of disadvantages. It's in comparison to other weapons, nunchucks are the worst out there. And the people like they have prohibited the use of nunchucks, so on and so forth. That's pop culture stupid shit stuff. Anyway, now let's get to the thick of the video. To the main part. My take of it, I agree with Shad, but I think Shad went a little bit more than he should be. It's not a that bad a weapon, but it's still a bad weapon. And I want to represent over here a few points in defense of nunchucks. However, just to say that it's an okay weapon, it's fine. It's not as bad as Shad wants to, like, it's depicting them to be. Just those few points that everybody have missed, points that the community hasn't been talking about yet, and I will just raise awareness to these points about nunchucks that must, in my opinion, go to the argument and to the discussion from both sides. And these I put them in a paper, and these are they just random. I just put them in a paper. I want this video to be as short, as fast as possible, and it's not like it's just a side video, and I just written points on the paper. There's maybe a few other points that I would think about later, but let's begin with this video talking about the subject. Just I want to raise awareness on these points that nobody have talked about yet. And let's start. First point is they should be metal, like the nunchucks. They should be made from metal, so something like tungsten or titanium. Like the nunchucks shouldn't be made from wood. That's like the cheap, fast, easy nunchucks stuff. Nunchucks should be made of metal, and these nunchucks that are made of metal are far more superior and effective than nunchucks that are made of wood. Far more effective. They are denser, heavier, and hit harder, can break stuff, and in fact you can use them to hit to break blades as well. You can break a big knife or a sword if you hit the sword with a titanium or a tungsten or even a full solid thick steel piece of the nunchucks part of right to the side of a weapon on the flat part of the blade, especially in the center or where the center of mass is, so like the blade goes vibrating and stuff and it breaks. And the hits should, like, it's all about a race who gets the first hit with the nunchucks, and a hit from a nunchucks, like without you wearing a helmet, it's really powerful. But a hit from a tungsten or a titanium or a solid steel, or even a solid iron, but let's make it look but solid steel. Let's stick with a solid steel, tungsten or titanium nunchucks. A hit from those, it's most likely death. If not death, you're gonna sleep for the rest of the day. You're gonna go unconscious and maybe bleed until death. Something on the line like that. Nunchucks need, like, a hit from nunchucks need to be, the main focus is the head, and it's all about the first hit in general. If not the first hit, the second hit. If not the second hit, the third hit. and the hit needs to be as fast, as quick, as powerful, as explosive, as perfect as possible. A hit on the head, like you should be swinging it fast and powerful with a straight, direct hit to the head, or to the top of the head, or the side around, like near the temple or something on the line, on that of the of the head of your opponent, enemy, attacker head, like as if you're defending yourself. And a hit like that with a good timing, with a professional hand, a very sweeping, fast, powerful hit, it's definitely most likely an instant death. You're gonna see your brain pops out of your skull. Yeah. Second point. So each point we're gonna read it and then talk about it. Second point, it's more effective when you are using two of them at once in each hand. Yeah. So you get the most out of nunchucks when you're using two nunchucks. That's how they should be used. A single nunchuck, that's for beginners. That's not powerful. The main use of nunchucks is when you are using two nunchucks, each in one hand. And this gives a lot of advantages. Basically, you dual wielding nunchucks. It gives a lot of advantages, like, especially if your opponent has one weapon, especially if your opponent has one weapon and they're not armed up. They don't have steel on them, or thick leather or something on the line like that. Or gambits and whatever, like without armor. Two nunchucks would be very, very effective, as you can hit more and potentially from many angles at once. Like, it gives you more, it makes more danger. It marks more possible areas that your opponent could get hit with the nunchucks. Some of your hit of nunchucks, or maybe you can use one of the hands of one of the nunchucks that's with one of your hands as a defense tool, or as a cleaning range tool, or a trick tool. Like, just like how you give a false punch, you can give a false hit, and then you hit, and then as soon as your opponent gets to the trick, you can then land your solid hit to the head and finish your opponent right there. The main goal of a nunchucks is to get a hit to the head, or to the neck, or the temple, or somewhere around the head. That's the main goal. And you could also dismantle your opponent. Like, if it's a wooden nunchucks, it could hurt. Like, I have experienced, I've dealt with nunchucks. If you get hit with a wooden nunchucks to the hand, it hurts. But depending on whether you're having a glove on you, or if you don't, it will still hurt. Maybe it will break a few fingers and such. But it's not the end of the world. But if you get hit with a tungsten heavy nunchucks, it's most likely you need a surgery to fix your hand. Especially if your opponent is going serious. So if you have one hand and you get hit, that you're using your weapon with, and you get hit on that, at best you cannot use your weapon at a full extent after that. And if you try to swap the weapon in the other hand, not in your right hand, if you're right-handed, it has a lot of problems. And the time where you're trying to swap, that could be a potential time where the nunchucks guy finish you out. Now, let's get to the next point. Usually you can hear more with it, as if like frequency of the hit in a minute or a second, however you want to calculate it, than other weapons. It's very easy and quick to do follow attack, especially when there is two of them, especially like when you're using two nunchucks at once, one of each hand. It's a nunchucks, basically it's nunchucks is about speed, about the hitting a lot, about just like how a rock gets destroyed by water, by even a drop of water over time. It's all about hitting. It's all about getting ahead, especially when you're using two nunchucks at once. One of them or one at a time will be used to just deal hit, just deal pain, and then it will open a way to deal that one final blow. It's all about speed. It's about tagging your opponent with the weapon, just constantly tagging your opponent, annoying your opponent, bringing your opponent in a danger to finish later on your opponent. It's about the amount of hit, and it's about the frequency of the hits and the speed of the hits. I mean by speed, the acceleration and stuff, not pure velocity. Like it has more speed in sense of from the perspective of the attacker. Like not physically speaking, but during the fight, it will be annoying to deal with, especially when your opponent is using two nunchucks. We'll emphasize a little bit on that later on, but just bear with me a second. So, next point, there are more special weapons like a sniper. Not everybody will be able to do good using it, except the professional. So yeah, nunchucks are professional weapons. Like you need to be good in using nunchucks, and to be able to use the full power of the nunchucks. That the nunchucks could, the advantages that the nunchucks could give you. Yes, that's in comparison to other weapons, that's a disadvantage, and so on and so forth. But this is a different type of weapons. There's classes in weapons. There's different types, different so on and so forth. This one is a special weapon, not a special because it's highly capable, but because of the dynamics of it. It's just like a sniper. Not everybody can pick a sniper and just kill everyone. But a sniper with a professional sniper in the hands of a professional sniper can be very deadly. It's just the same principle, but it still has disadvantages in regard of that too, and that's one of the reasons why it's a bad weapon. I agree with it's a bad weapon, but it's not that bad, and there's a lot to speak about it. So let's continue the other point. Yeah, now let's get to the very important points that we need to talk about. We need to think from the attacker point of view. Imagine you attacking a guy with two nunchucks, or even if just one, but especially with two. How are you supposed to deal with him, them, whatever, with this situation? How are you supposed to do it? It's not like the end of the world, and if you get a reach weapons, it will be useful. Like, it's not the end of the world, but it's very annoying weapon to deal with. It's the amount of potential hits or potential attacks, even if they are fade, even if you dodge them, even if you don't care of them, but the amount of hit, the angles from which your opponent can hit you, especially when you're using two nunchucks and a professional at using nunchucks, plus a few other things that we're gonna talk about. Like, remember, you have to fuse all these points together. But it's very important to think from the point of view of the attacker, point of view of the other person. You have to think from the other guy point of view. It's really annoying weapon to deal with. I have I didn't train with nunchucks or what whatsoever, but I did train like going against like for just with the friends and stuff, going against what I call it nunchucks and so on and so forth. It's really annoying to deal with. Not like trying to not get hit, but it's still annoying to deal with. Like it's flimsy and stuff like that. Basically, I want to say that because nunchucks are dangerous for the attacker and the user, that's actually an advantage both as well as a disadvantage for the user. It's a Kamazaki weapon. It's like kills everybody. like forget that it will hurt the user potentially. Forget that. Because you're gonna get hurt as well. You know what I mean? It's not about getting hurt. Like, you can take it and just move on. It's not the end of the world, but it's dangerous. It's flimsy. It could hit you in the head. It especially when your opponent is using two. There's a lot of shit could happen, and it's annoying to deal with. Just I don't know how to emphasize how annoying to deal with it. One of the most effective ways to defeat a nunchuck guy is basically just to charge him. Of course, you need to time when to charge and so on and so forth. It's not like blindly attacking. That will be the end of you. But that's exactly what a nunchucks guy wants you to do. You just went to his trap. That's the perfect position in which he can just shower you with hits to death. In general, if someone like attack blindly in martial arts, that's where you can finish him. Like the guards go down and so on and so forth. That's in general, but it's more emphasized on with nunchucks. But what I'm saying is by just charging the nunchucks user, is timing your charge. You just like keep attacking him, even if it hits you, even if it's like hurts you. Just keep on and just get in a clinch. Just get in a in a wrestling / ground fighting position and just grapple him. That's just one of the perfect ways to deal with a nunchucks guy. The other way is a potential effective way, and it's just bring a tall weapon, a long weapon. However, don't forget with the long weapons, there's a disadvantage that he could just drop one of the nunchucks and hold to your stuff. Or if a nunchucks is tungsten or titanium, he could break your stuff, especially if your stuff is normal. It's not a perfect built spear. Your stuff could be broken with a tungsten or / titanium nunchucks hit. What else? Now, next point. So yeah, don't forget thinking about from the point of view of the attacker and how you're gonna deal with it. Also, different from a situation to another, just like with everything else. It's really annoying to deal with. Like, I'll prefer going against a knife, a short knife, not a long knife. That's very dangerous. But I'll prefer going against a short knife than going against a nunchucks or a double nunchucks, one in each hand. I really prefer that than nunchucks. Another point, it is more a crazy weapon. It's a Kamazaki weapon, just like how I said. It's both an advantage and a disadvantage. That is both dangerous to the user and the attacker. It's a type of weapon where it does the job regardless whether you alive or not. As a user of it, it does a job. It will, especially if you're professional, it will take your opponent down. Most likely, if you get hit in the head, will kill him. But you could also the attacker could still bore a knife in your stomach and potentially also die. Regardless of that, it does a job. It doesn't particularly that much. It will be, in my opinion, it will be kind of perfect if you use a nunchucks or an extended length nunchucks. longer nunchucks with in conjunction with a small shield, where you protect yourself from a disadvantage point while you're hitting with the nunchucks. That'll be very effective. But that's two weapons. One of them is quite a big weapon, bigger than a nunchucks. So that's a little bit outside of the discussion, I think, maybe. But good thing to think about, like side point. Anyway, but it's a crazy weapon. It's because it is clumsy, because it's dangerous to the user as well as it is dangerous to the attacker. That's in my opinion, it's as it is an advantage, it's also an advantage. Yeah, nobody can deny Kamazaki attack were very effective. And very much the same with nunchucks. It's basically nunchucks is about whom hits first, just like a gunfight, just like those cowboy, Wild West fights. Who hits first laughs a lot. It's all about getting the first hit, getting a perfect first hit. That's the style of the nunchucks. That's very much the main goal of the nunchucks. And the different styles of how to use the nunchucks. It is about speed, frequency of the hits by the weapon. It's where you keep hitting even if it is a weak hit. Like, it's all about keep continuing hitting, keeping pushing the opponent, keep moving forward to opponent, closing the distance, perhaps dodging the weapon aside, or if it's a spear, making a hold on the spear, something on the line like that. It's about frequency, speed, and constantly hitting until you land that one hit. And also, it's very important to keep in mind the one-hit strategy as well. In terms of moving around, Milani Fitness, and his response to Shad from Shadiversity video, previous to the last Shadiversity video about nunchucks, he talked about when you're using nunchucks, you have to move around, so on and so forth. And Shad said, well, with other weapons, you don't have to move around. And that's true, but it's just the style of the nunchucks. For me personally, I prefer to move around and basically dodge the weapon and get out of the weapon area, even if it is like in any scenario, not just in nunchucks. I don't know how to use nunchucks. I haven't trained with nunchucks because simply they're not useful that much. I agree with Shad, but they're not as bad as Shad wants them to. But it's betraying them. He went a bit extreme there, in my opinion. However, in terms of moving around, for me personally, I'll prefer to move around anyway, whether I'm using a sword, a spear, a lance, whatever. I'll prefer to move around. For me personally, I'm a fighter that doesn't think in a 2D motion type of business. Like most fighters nowadays, martial artists, so on and so forth, they think about, one-on-one type of scenario where it is like, just a rectangle fight, so to speak. It's go back, go forth. Even sort of they don't think about going back. People always forget you can just step back and get out of your opponent's reach. A lot of people forget that while fighting. The other thing, just generally speaking, it's all straight fight. 2D fighting, just like a street fighter, sort of speak. It's just straight. And if they being dynamic, they move around, but they always fight from their eye point of view. They always they move around like a clock, but it's always when they hit and they meet each other's in a 2D fashion. For me personally, I think about the fight like a balloon. I think like I am in a sphere. I think like 3D in a 3D 4D motion. There's the X, there's the Y, and there's the time. I like to think that way, like half a sphere or a full sphere. I fight that way, so I like moving around, twisting around my ankle, getting away from my opponent blade. That's generally my style. I do blind. I know how to do binds, so on and so forth. I've trained with them, and I still use them. They are useful. But generally speaking, I tend and I like to just get away from the hit fully and try to sneak in through different angles and through different dead points, blind spots of my opponent to defeat them. So it's just the style of the nunchucks and the reach disadvantage that nunchucks has. Make you must move around, and this is not really a big deal. It's just a style. It's just the weapon prerequisite. I don't think so. It's a big deal. It's okay. Next point, which is tied to the previous point, which is in using nunchucks you need to move around, and it is a weapon that requires elbows and legs, kicks, attacks using kicks in conjunction, and that's not a. It's just a style of the nunchucks. Plus, nunchucks, as I said, they're not a good weapon, and that's just how nunchucks are. In my opinion, nunchucks are a support weapon. They're not fully a weapon to begin with, anyway. It's a support weapon, and when you're using nunchucks, it's a really, really good idea to kicks and do elbow attacks, especially when you're using two nunchucks. You can, like, while you're hitting or doing exchanges with the nunchucks, you can step in with your especially if you do some perfect, nice footsteps. Footwork. And you just land, and you can try and do some elbow attacks. But most importantly, you need kicks. Kick your opponent hand, kick your opponent hand out of reach. Kick your opponent, and the kick will give you some room and sort of speak cover to some extent the lack of reach that nunchucks have. Especially if you have some protection on your leg. If your legs are flexible, so on and so forth, you can kick really damn fast. And in terms of kicking fast and so on and so forth, there's a good kick, in my opinion, a really good kick, a kick that you want to reach to that level. It needs to be as good as a medium-sized blade. Let's say like 30 centimeters would break if you quite really fast with your kick while your opponent is using it, and you like with a single kick, so you like kick the side on the flat of the weapon and break the blade. The flat side of the blade and break the blade. If you can do that, that's a good kick. Any more than that will be more perfect. But in my opinion, that's when you're training doing kicks, that's your goal. That's the definition of a good kick, in my opinion. The true definition of a good kick, of the good kick. You know what I mean? So you could, if you train properly, you can do that. But anyway, you could easily try kicking your opponent fist, make him lose the weapon, like kick the weapon away. Especially if it's a blade. You can try, like if it's a spear and trying to stab you, you could try and wrap your legs forward on top of the spear. You can try you could try stuff like that. there's a lot of footwork it's required with nunchucks, and to recover from the disadvantages of the nunchucks and how bad the nunchucks are. They're not that bad, but you need some kicks as well to nunchucks attacks. That's what in my opinion makes it a support weapon. It's better to fight with nunchucks in a fight of weapons than fighting with nothing. Alright, in general, it depends on the situation, but in general it's better to fight with nunchucks, especially 2 nunchucks at once, one in each hand, than fighting with nothing, if you know how to use them properly and trade with them. It's better to use them than using nothing, and they support you, they make your kicks better, and so on and so forth. They add a layer of defense, they can increase your punching power, and so on and so forth. Nunchucks also are very damn effective, and the main goal of them are simple weapons that can be really effective against multiple enemies that they're not using weapons. Unarmed opponents, and you are armed. That's the main use of nunchucks in my opinion, and the goal of the nunchucks. And I want to raise that there's a type of nunchucks, I don't know if that would be called a nunchucks, but a true nunchucks, the true power, this is a real damn good weapon that's better than most weapons. Still requires training, but if you don't know the training fully, you can still, some of different versions where some of its version you can still use 50% of its capability as a staff. But this is a really damn good weapon. This weapon is the Three-Section-Staff. It's a Chinese weapon. The Three-Section-Staff. The Three-Section-Staff is damn good, especially if it's made from full steel or titanium or tungsten. It's a really damn good weapon. The time is moving on, and I guess for now we need to wrap up real fast, but I just want to give awareness about this nunchucks-like weapon that's very effective. Some of its versions, it's a staff that could break. So a good version of this weapon is where it can be used as a single staff or spear. Spear without the spearhead. But I mean long stuff. It can be broken apart and give a chain out and used as a free section stuff. So there's a version where you can with doing certain movements, it will go back together and be a solid stuff. But free section stuff, it's really damn effective and powerful weapon. In my opinion, and let's talk about this weapon in the future. Free section staff is perfect. However, still requires training to be able to use it to its full extent on how it's supposed to be used. But even if you don't know how to use it, like you haven't trained with it, you still can do a lot with it, and it is a good weapon, and I love it, and I will hope in the future to train with it. And it's very effective. I've used some of them before, especially the staff that especially the free section staff that which can be connected together and use it as a staff whenever you want to. You can do it right in the middle of a fight and change from there to there, and vice versa. So I guess that's all for today. Basically what I say, there's a lot of stuff about nunchucks that we should talk about, different points that nobody have yet talked about, and Shad and Milani Fitness are being extreme, one side in support of nunchucks and one side basically trashing nunchucks. And I just want to be in the middle, or sort of in the middle, but more like 60% more towards Shad. They are bad weapon, but Shad, they're not that bad. not as bad as I have understood from you. They're not horrible weapons. They're still a weapon, and sort of maybe a support class weapon. Anyway, I guess that's for today. And subscribe to the channel. Click the bell, all this YouTube stuff. Leave a comment. What do you think? Leave your comments below. And yeah, gate to Babylon, the gate to everything. Peace out.